Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Media Made Me. My name is Felipe, and I am the titular Brazilian dragon. And today, I am joined by the extra special Michael J. Clark. MJC, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, buddy, I'm doing really well. I'm very excited to just rap about all the stuff, the pop culture, man. I love it.
Yes, I'm excited. Like, obviously, like as friends, I feel like I have a good sense of some
Mhm.
of the things that speak to you, but I'm excited to learn about the pieces of MJC lore that I don't know, especially in terms of media. Now, you are one of my favorite pop culture connoisseurs,
Thank you.
previous podcaster of pilot season. So you've
Mhm.
seen at least 100 different pilots, and
Yes,
I
sir.
bet
Yes,
it's
at
more than
least.
that. But what's new with MJC? It's been a hot minute since you've been on the podcast. How you've been? How's life?
Uh, life is pretty good. I have really over the last 3 years kind of gone back to my theater roots, and so I am spending a lot of that that time that at one point was like my hobby time is going to be like, oh, I'm gonna podcast, I'm gonna like kind of create content online, has a lot of that time has morphed into I'm going back to the thing that I grew up with, the thing that really gave me a lot of joy growing up, and that is doing things on the stage. So I've been doing a lot of work on stage, where I've been in a lot of plays and musicals, and I've done a lot of work off stage, where um, I stage managed my first like big fat musical in June, which has like always been kind of something that like I've always wanted to do, and so that was definitely a benchmark. And yeah, so I've been spending a lot of my time with that medium, but it's given it's provided me with a lot of joy for sure. Um, I love the the friendships and relationships that I have made since COVID. Like I call a lot of people um, kind of like you have summer camp friends. I call
Yeah.
them my global pandemic friends, where people in which I would talk to like all the time online, and they were like great relationships, and I'm really like happy that like I had them. Um, but like nothing beats being able to like have the face to face interaction. Like nothing beats like being able to um, like grab a beer with someone really easily. Um, yeah, so that's been it's a lot of people talk about how tough it is to be to make adult friends, and I'm here to say that this is such like an easy, great way to make adult friends, to like join um, like a local theater company, or even like supporting the arts. I know, Felipe, that you completely agree about how important it is to like support local arts.
100%. Listen, I grew up on Glee. Of course, I care about the supporting the theater. But no, that brings me so much joy because yeah, I feel like we hung out a lot, like a little bit pre-pandemic. Like we were
Mhm.
in those online game groups, and
Yep.
then we like really got closer during the pandemic. But yeah, that like little interim where like we were ingratiating ourselves into like pre-pandemic lifestyles
Mhm.
after like everyone was starting to get vaxxed and everything. That was like a weird turning point for me. That's also when I moved across the country, and so it's been a weird journey. Like podcasting is very fun, and right now I'm in a big podcast kick where I'm trying to do a lot of stuff
Mhm.
creatively through this medium. But uh it like I have taken like long breaks from podcasting. Like when I was getting into stand up, like I took a long break to focus on that. When I started this job and like was hanging out with a lot of my coworkers all the time, that was another way that I made adult friends. But like the theater is something like you are creating art together. So it's not only these like cool humans that you're making, but you're also working to make the best version of something possible. And it is best you work best together when you are genuinely excited to be around each other's presence and like develop strong bonds. So I've definitely like looked into like auditioning for things out here, and then I put it off because ADHD brain. But I know how much the theater means to you, and like seeing you and seeing all the like Instagram and Facebook posts that you've been making about like all the shows that you've been up to, seeing you just get back into the joy of performing is so exciting. And listen, the podcast medium will always be around if there's another global pandemic, but the theater cannot have the same uh, said for it. So you go get like you only live once, make the most of your life, and if that's what's bringing you the most joy, I support. And listen, you're MJC. You will always appear on a podcast every once in a while. Because that's like a way, at least for me, one of the greatest joys I found through podcasting is it's a way for me to keep up with my long distance friends and like create art together. So that's like one of the big reasons why I continue to do it. Outside of like I genuinely enjoy doing it, not that you don't as well, but to see you thriving in the theater spaces, especially like congrats on the stage managing of your project in June. It's very exciting, and I'm so proud of everything you're doing because like we are friends, but like I get to see like us grow apart, and then we come back, connect on a live event, or if I go to New York and you're there,
Right.
or we do a podcast together and we catch up, and like it feels like time has not passed, but then it's also like, oh, there's so much that you've been up to since we last caught up that it's like, oh, this is like I'm excited to see and what my friends are up to. And but the theater, like you've always been a big theater boy, so I'm like, this is exciting to see you get back out there. What has been your favorite production you've been a part of? Was it the one that you stage managed in June, or
Um, definitely not.
too stressful?
It was extremely stressful. I will say that by the end of it, I had grown extremely attached, and it like was like a net really positive thing, and like I really loved my experience with that. But so I think the two that were the most special was the first one that I got back into in towards the end of 2021, beginning of 2022. Um, and it was I had never done a non-musical before. I had only done musicals, and so this was like a straight play, and it was a comedy, and I got to um, really connect with a group of people that like we had a group chat afterwards, and we were just very supportive of each other, very much there for each other. Like it was such a special um, like core group of cast. So that was really special to me. And then I got to do the summer of 2022. I got to do curtains, and that was like I look back at that cast of people that they got for that show, and uh, I talked to people that I did the show with also, where we say like you can never like get that group together again. It was just like such like a heavy hitter. It's like a really tremendous ensemble, a really tremendous like group of actors, and we had like a wonderful director, and the audiences really loved it and really really liked it. I got to play like a cartoon bad guy who like was in like two scenes and then like gets like hanged at intermission. So it's like really like I got to like put on this like random voice that came out of nowhere, and it was such like a fun experience. And those are the two that I'll always be grateful, because they were like two of the first like three or four that got me like back into it. So yeah. So shout out to Laughing Stock and Curtains.
I love that. Yeah, and the theater is very much like a team sport. It's like if everyone's firing on all cylinders, then it makes the experience even better. Now, normally with these, I like start with the youngest version of you, but let's stick on the theater. Like, how'd you get into theater? Was it when you were a kid? Was it in high school? Was it in college? Like,
Yeah.
what?
So my um my dad's very musical, where he plays guitar and he sings. He would like sing at church. Um, so like yeah, my dad's always been very musical. Um, and one of my older sisters, she did like some theater in middle school, and like being like going as like a youngster to like see her like on stage, I just thought it was like, oh, that's so cool. Like it's like it's something that I definitely like would love to like. I really want to be. Um, a lot of people who are in um, like the performance area who like have that theater kid energy. Um, like I think a lot of it has to do with um, the desire, like the craving of attention.
Mhm.
Um, I am like the ultimate middle child, where um, like the families that like that we would go on vacation with. Um, there were three families growing up that we go to Jersey Shore every summer, and like the grouping of the kids growing up was 4-1-4, and I was the one.
Yeah,
Where like now, like it's really like we're all adults, like who cares? But like growing up, it's just like you're just in the middle, and I think that really dictated a lot of my personality, where I would, and to this day on vacation, I am the one who like I create like a Jeopardy game for like the beach, because like I want to be like the one that like people
that's why
are
we're podcasting.
exactly like I like people's gaze upon, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
I like the attention, and so like theater kids like love attention. Um so my first show I ever did was in eighth grade, and I um it was give my regards to Broadway, and I was like a minor character, but the lead was like kind of flaky, and during rehearsals where he wasn't there, they would have me step in,
Mhm.
and as it like got a little bit closer, the director like pulled me aside and said like, get ready because this might be happening. And sure enough, like a week before the show was about to start, uh, I had replaced him, and so like um, I had to replace him in the role, and it was like so cool because I really like thought that it was just such like an adrenaline rush, and it was like really really cool. I'm sure like if you like someone has that video, like burn the video. Like I'm sure it was really really not great, but it was my first experience with it, and it was like really really cool. Um, so the next year had I had tried out for like a local production, and uh, the person who was directing was, I was a freshman in high school. He was a junior, and he was in chorus with me, so like I knew him, and like he was like very like well known. And it was, I don't even remember what show. It may have been West Side Story. So I auditioned for it, and like the thing was that they had said like, regardless if you make it or not, like we will let you know. And like it was a bad audition. It really like wasn't that great. And then Bob never never got back to me. Like he never like let me know yes or no. And so that really that really like hurt. So the next year when for some reason my freshman year of high school we didn't do a school show, but sophomore year we did Gypsy, and he was like the male lead and I was like in like two scenes. But I remember like before on opening night before the show, he like pulled me aside and he said like, I just want you to know that you've come like such a long way in a year and like I'm really really proud of you. And that was really really cool.
Yeah.
And I also learned then with that experience that so you hear from a lot of people about a question I get asked, a question theater people get asked about like, oh, like stage fright, like don't you get nervous? Like aren't you like worried sometimes that you're not gonna? And here's the way I explain it: is that my director in high school was um, an absolutely like wonderful lady. Like she is like really brilliant and really really supportive, but could be kind of like kind of cruel sometimes during rehearsals. So it's opening night of Gypsy. Like Bob has just said this thing to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is good. So I'm kind of pacing beforehand, and I'm a little bit nervous. And I stop, and I realize I said, "Oh, this is the easy part. Like the hard part's over. Like everyone out there is like a parent, like a loved one of someone. No one is going to stand up in the middle of the show and say." That was awful. Do it again.
Yeah.
Our part's over. You know what I mean? Like if you can perform for like a very demanding director, like you can perform on stage in front of like people who are smiling and nodding at you and are like there to like be entertained and say like this is a high school production of like Gypsy, like I'm here for it. So yeah, that I never stopped throughout high school, throughout college. My big break in high school was when the next year, so my junior year, when I was cast as the lion in The Wizard of Oz.
Yes. Perfect role for you.
Exactly, yeah, and it was so I did the voice in my audition for the song, and it was amazing, and it was just such like a it was like the highlight of my like high school experience was just kind of like getting a chance to like be like such like a cool role,
Yeah.
and so um I did it all through high school, all through college. I'm like still chasing that role. You know what I mean? Like I'm still chasing like the high of like I was the lion of the Wizard of Oz once. And I hope I get there at some point. Um, I've been putting in the work and it's all up to how much work I put in, how good I am, like what the director wants, and all of that. So did all in high school, all in college. Um, and then after college, I moved around a lot, and so it was tough for me to find a theater because I never knew where I was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have roots planted anywhere. Um, and so my return to the stage really coincided with me saying like, well, like this is where I'm going to be for a bit, you know?
Yeah.
And so
No.
that's what really that's what really drove it.
I want to touch on like two things that you mentioned, like
Mhm.
the anxiety or like the stage fright of like performing. Like I think for me, a lot of the times is, and this is something that I've come to the conclusion of recently. I think Inside Out 2 helped, but like excitement is on the opposite side of the coin that is anxiety and nerves, and like those are both happening when you're about to go on stage. You're like excited, and like maybe there's a little, it's like butterflies, and it's a mixture of nerves and excitement, and but also like you said, of course the ambulance drives by right when I'm trying to make a point. um but they so that's one thing. But then secondly, I also um, something that I wish I knew when I was a kid is something that I learned recently through like stand up is like it seems so obvious, but one of my instructors, Heidi, she was like, the audience doesn't know if you make a mistake or if you mess up your joke.
Yeah.
Like they're just there to see the show. So like
Mhm.
if you just like move on and like just keep going, like they're not even gonna know the second unless they're like for stand up working with you in this class to like make these jokes better, or if it's a show, like if they have done this production like 8 times and they've done the exact same version that we're doing. So it's like I wish I knew that when I was a kid, because that would have made me beat myself up less about like stupid mistakes that I made in plays. Like there's still one in third grade that I like just got distracted by the audience, again ADHD, and I was just like looking out trying to find my parents, and then all of a sudden it's my line and I forget my line and I say the wrong line. So but you know, like that's 8-year-old me. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's funny. Again, if anyone has that tape, burn it. But the theater is so fun. It also it's a very communal experience because, like I said, it's a team sport. You can be uplifted or brought down by the environment. If it's not a good environment, then like if it's very like not to go back to my Glee example, but if everyone's like out for themselves in a Rachel Berry-esque way, then it's not healthy. And those were some of my least favorite theater experiences where everyone was just trying to be the star. But I feel like the majority of my theater experiences, and it feels like similarly for you, it was just very much like everyone's there to have a good time. Everyone's going to put in their best work, and you're focused on the overall show, and you're a part of the show. But you can't, unless it is a one-man show. It's not a one-man show, even though there's still like the tech team, the accompaniment if it's a
Mhm.
musical. So like no show can run single-handedly by themselves. So and I think that's something that I really admire about you. You're a very friendly and gregarious guy. You're very like, oh, I want to include as many people as possible in my activities. You're one of the most social butterflies I know in the RHAP space. And that's coming from someone who has also been told that before. So I'm like, no, I think Michael J. Clark is like one of those people that like everyone knows who he is. Everyone has good things to say about him. So it makes sense that the theater realm is something that you thrive in. And now I'm curious also, I want to do a little survey amongst my friends, and maybe I'll put this online, but like, if you were a theater kid, were you an older child, middle child, or younger child? Because I feel like I'm curious to see what the proportions is. Because I feel like a lot of older children also probably like identify with the wanting attention. Because at least for me, my
Sure.
brother's 6 years younger, but
And I'm sure
no,
a lot of like babies of the family felt the same way as well.
yeah, it's just
Where like
dependent on your specific
yeah.
circumstances and how you grew up. Because, like you said, you were like the one in the two groups of four.
Mhm.
Yeah. What are your favorite shows that you've consumed as a viewer? Because I know you love the theater both as an audience member and as a performer.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I had a joke where, and this was like really popping in like 2018 or 2019. But my joke was that the surefire way to like annoy someone and make someone feel jealous is to start a sentence. Well, the second time I saw Hamilton, um, I was like like most Americans, most international audiences too. Like shout out to Shannon Gus. Um, really, like I loved Hamilton. I am lucky enough that I was able to see the original Broadway cast, minus Groff had already moved on, and Philippa Sue's understudy was in that day. But everyone else was original Broadway cast. That was like really cool. I say to anyone who will listen that like one of the coolest experiences being an audience member um, of a musical was when David Diggs came down the stairs in the beginning of Act Two for the first time as Thomas Jefferson, and he's singing "What Did I Miss?" and it was just like electric. It was like it was like seeing like a Super Bowl. It was so cool. Um, and I know that it's like gauche now to like say that I, I'm not gonna. I think that a lot of anytime that something's like really popular, anytime that people really love something, like there's the backlash. Like there's going to be people online that are just like rolling their eyes, like, "Oh, you like that? Like I thought it was like." You like that? You like Lin-Manuel Miranda music? Like that's so cringe. He's so cringe. Like, don't you like? Don't you really like? Shut up. Let
Yes,
people like enjoy
like
what they
yeah.
enjoy. Um,
Who isn't?
that's
Who
one of
must
the.
isn't cringe at times?
That's one of the reasons why. And then I'm sure we'll get to it as we get to like the end of this episode when we talk about plugs. But that's one of the reasons why I am so down on X, formerly known as Twitter, is that like it is just such a it's such like an avenue for people to just be haters. There's so much hate on online and especially on X. Like I really it like it hurts me. Like I really and I think a lot of it is the groups that I'm in, like Yankee fans. Like I'm, you know, born and raised Yankee fan. Like I love the New York Yankees. But I hate Yankee fans so much because they're so insufferable. Felipe. One of the things I enjoy watching online, like I love what like the John Boy people, John Boy Media people have created. I'm wearing a John Boy hat right now. Like I really I think that what they've done to make baseball accessible to everyone is just like really really great. So they have like a weekly interview with Aaron Boone, who's the manager of the Yankees, and every week they put out a question on X, like, "Hey, what should we ask Aaron Boone this week?" And every week, I'm like, I know exactly what everything's gonna say. Like every response is like, "Ask him when he's gonna retire. Ask him why he sucks so much. Ask him like when he's gonna kill himself." I'm like, what is like? No, they're not gonna do that. Like they're not going to ask him these questions. Does this make you feel better? Like you like doing this? It's become so toxic, man. Like I just
I
for
mean,
for for a while, I always thought that if I really like dedicated myself to it, I would be really good at Twitter. But I never did. And I don't I think it's a dying platform, and
yeah,
I really don't have any interest in it, and so I will say that like most of my scrolling, most of my like content, what I'm like putting out, like is has been Instagram, and I really like enjoy the Instagram platform so much more than the Twitter
yeah.
platform.
I've moved over
I'm sorry,
mostly.
I'm sorry for like that little like non sequitur.
You're good.
Um, it's what so I started seeing a therapist in um the beginning of June. Um
We love
and
therapy in this house.
that's like my sessions are a lot of I will be answering one of her questions and it will like trigger like, oh, this story about college, oh, like this story about, and it will become like so like secure.
Yeah,
It I just my brain has a lot of like triggers for like blah, blah,
yeah.
blah, blah. So I'm sure that like it's like the easiest thing for her just to be like, you know, ask one question and like buckle in.
Yeah, I mean, that's also I feel like the at least with I'm learning like as so I only got diagnosed with ADHD after watching Penn Holderness on The Amazing Race, and then I was like, oh, I have questions, and then like I always thought like I probably had it, but like then talking to a therapist and getting like an official diagnosis was like life changing, and now I'm on medication. But like still, the way I tell a story is very like it's been like it's very, and then it's circular. Like I'm running around in a hamster wheel, and then all of a sudden I'm like jumping on a swing and going to a different topic, and then I'm like jumping over here. It's like I jump all over the place and go to so many different tangents, and then I was like, what's the question? Like that, so I can relate to that. But it also means that like you have such like a strong awareness of everything that you're thinking about at once. It's just hard to focus on one thing because there's so much going on. But you mentioned the Yankees, but another one that this is one we both share is the Big Brother fans and the reality TV fans. Like I am a Big Brother fan. I hate being a Big Brother fan because I feel like the fans are the worst part about the show, and it's very demoralizing. Like, and you do a pretty good job of like being an uplifting presence whenever I do see a tweet of yours on the socials. But like you, I have also been mostly an Instagram boy because Twitter is just like a cesspool of negativity, and there's like beacons of positivity in there. Like I know when the Olympics were happening, like everyone was like fanboying and girling over the Olympic stuff. But then with Jordan Childs and Imani Khalif, and I was like, oh, like this is like demoralizing. And of course, it's like just gonna put me in a bad mood just doom scrolling through Twitter. So let me go to Instagram instead, and it's just like much more like goobery. Like I see, like I follow like just wholesome accounts, and it's like, oh, if this is not the vibe, I don't want to be part of it. It's like all of these characters dressed up in blankets and just drinking hot chocolate. I'm like, oh, this is much more cozy. I feel like that's the word. Like Instagram can be a lot more cozy than Twitter.
Yeah. And I think it also has to do with the fact that like I feel like my Instagram is a little bit more curated to like, people that I know, because like a lot of like my IRL friends, like they don't have Twitter, and they're not as active as like Brian Scally. You know what I mean? Like,
what? No.
And so it's nice to like be able to like see like more from like my friends, and like it can be like the same echo chamber that like Twitter can be for sure, but I a lot of it is like an echo chamber for good, where it's a lot of like promoting the shows they're doing now, or like vacation pick, you know what I mean? It's just like really like I just so other favorite musicals. I love Little Shop of Horrors.
Great taste.
Great. Yep. I'm a Les Mis boy, of course. Yeah, there are a lot of really great. I a couple of weeks ago, I actually tier listed my favorite. I tier listed opening songs from musicals, and so that was a lot of fun.
And where's Corn?
I did not do Shucked.
Ah, dang. It's okay.
Because I'm not as familiar with it.
Yeah, no, me. I just listen to the music. I'm not familiar with like the story, or like I haven't seen it. But Corn is a banger of a song.
Yes, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's that's my theater stuff. Should we like talk about other things for like the theater people who like don't care about?
No. I mean, this is your podcast. This is your discussion. But what was like the earliest content that you remember consuming, like when you were growing up? Like, was it television? Was it movies? Was it a specific like genre? Like with Nicole, we talked about like Disney princesses.
Sure.
Like, is there anything specific that like you remember growing up and being like really into? And you mentioned sports as well. So like anything that you want to discuss in this early MJC era?
So I would say that the first movie that I ever saw that I was probably too young for, it wasn't the first movie that I ever saw, but it was the first one that I saw that I looking back in retrospect, like I probably shouldn't have seen at that stage of my life, was Jurassic Park. And I love Jurassic Park. Such like a great movie, great IP. Like I love that movie so much. But like when I was 7 seeing Jurassic Park, like I had nightmares the next that night. So like I probably shouldn't have seen Jurassic Park when I did. I have like memories of like seeing Home Alone in theaters, seeing Aladdin in theaters. So like in like the early like 90s, I would
Yeah.
is my like first experience of like going to the cinema, going to like the theaters. Um I uh like I was a big fan of Nickelodeon. So Disney Channel was like that was premium cable. That was like we got like a free trial of Disney Channel like a couple times
Nice.
a year where you had to like kind of call in to kind of like what PBS does, but like we only got it like a couple times a year. So I was like definitely like a Nick boy. Um, but like Rugrats, like Doug, um, I like, kind of caught like the beginning of Hey Arnold, but like Rocco, uh, I was like Hey Dude, Salute Your Shorts. Like they're definitely like I was definitely like a Nickelodeon boy.
Nickelodeon's great. Like I definitely grew up with some of the later stuff like SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron, but Nickelodeon is like probably one of the earliest introductions to like my brand of comedy for sure. Like, and I feel like it's just so silly and like slightly
It is.
edgy.
Like I, I remember watching like You Can't Do That on Television.
Yeah.
It's like what like a silly show that was.
Yeah. What was there any like Disney Channel or Nickelodeon movies of that era that like really stuck with you, like in addition to the shows, or was it mostly the shows and then like the movies that you would see in theaters?
It was mostly the shows. I think by the time that Disney Channel became like not premium cable anymore and like everyone had it.
Yeah.
Um like I remember watching Even Stevens and Lizzie McGuire and uh like they were definitely like I definitely was watching kids programming probably too late in life, I'll say.
Yeah.
Where like I was like in high school and I was still like kind of like enjoying some of the content that like Disney was putting out. Before like now I feel like now it's like kind of like cool to
Yeah.
like be like it because like the Disney like the Disney company like has like all like the Marvel IP and the Star Wars and everything.
Yeah.
Like before it was like really cool. I definitely remembered like watching it later than like my friends would. Um, it wasn't like the thing that was I was most interested in, but like I definitely like when did Lizzie McGuire come out? Let me just
I feel like the movie was 2004.
but the
The
movie was
series
2004.
began in 2001.
Okay, so like 2001, like I was like a sophomore in high school.
Mhm.
But it was still like I would still it was still interesting. I'd still watch it for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
but
something that I
again,
am
like
noticing. Oh, go ahead.
there are other things I was watching too. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I've noticed that like amongst like my conversations with people like uh around your age, like you also didn't have streaming. So it was kind of like you
no,
were channel
no,
surfing and whatever was on. And if it's like you're watching a cartoon meant for like while you're in high school, like that's fine. Like I know multiple people that I've talked to on the Phineas and Ferb podcast that like weren't kids when Phineas and Ferb came out. They were like, yeah, we watched this when we were drunk in college. And like so like it's whatever you had available. And now streaming has a lot more options and you can kind of watch whatever you want. But uh, in that era, it's just kind of like you channel surf until you find something that you want to
sure,
watch.
sure. I also like. I mean, I really liked The Simpsons.
Yes.
I remember we were on a field trip to I think it was DC. And I was sitting by my friend Cody on the trip, and one thing that he told me when we like finally like arrived via bus is he goes like, you talked way too much about specific episodes of Friends and Seinfeld. Yeah.
And
And that was I would say I was like 13, 14
yeah,
around there. Um so a lot of my like comedy would come from those like NBC shows where
yeah.
Seinfeld, Friends, and Frasier. I'd say were like the big three. Um, yeah.
And I feel like you're a sitcom guy to this day. Like I feel like I remember way back when we first were starting to like develop our Zoom games stuff, like you went through and like assigned all these people like
Oh yeah, I
comedy
definitely
characters.
I do I really I love a good sitcom for
Yeah.
sure.
So
Um,
are those your like top three, or would you say like there's others these days that like have
let me look it up, but Amanda and Ariel on their podcast did their 10 shows to know me,
yeah.
and I was like I was really intrigued, so I made my 10 shows. Do you want me to
Nice. Yes, please do.
okay, all right. So my 10 shows were Frasier and Seinfeld as my like those are like the sitcoms.
R.I.P. Friends.
Yep. Survivor, of course.
Yeah.
Better Call Saul.
Oh, love it. I love that you put that over Breaking Bad. I'm assuming Breaking Bad did not make it.
It did not. I mean, I like I love them both.
Yes,
But
but
I
my preference is Better Call Saul as well. So
yeah,
it's
I
always like
really
I feel
like
like
Better.
you we aligned in that sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Love Better Call Saul.
I said Top Chef. Ted Lasso. I'm here to, and I'm online to shut down anyone who says that Ted Lasso sucked after season one.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah, where the I went downhill and all became about like feelings and did you not watch these like are we watching the same show? Um, Friday Night Lights, Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
99.
Jeopardy, and the one that I put that really spoke to me was SNL, Saturday Night Live.
Yes. Are you gonna be watching the upcoming
Of course,
movie? Yes, I will
of
be
course.
in theaters that night.
Yeah,
Opening
yeah,
night.
yeah. um, yeah, like SNL is just like such like a and like do I think it's uh a golden era right now? Probably not, but I still very much enjoy it. I go back and I watch old sketches all the time. And by like old sketches, like I don't mean like stuff from like the 90s. I'm talking about like things that like from like the like Sudeikis and Hader and Sandberg era and
Yeah.
things that from like the like crazy things that like Kyle Mooney and Beck Bennett did. Like they're definitely um they're for anyone who says that like oh it has been funny in years, like all right, like take like the stick out of your ass. Like
I
it's
refuse to
still
acknowledge
very
the
funny.
debate when Bowen Yang was the Chinese spy balloon.
Yes,
That was a funny one.
it was.
Um,
And I'll do this thing where like I will um like I wish sometimes that I knew how to like I wish I was good at TikTok and like knew how to like create on TikTok like really really where like I'll have these ideas that I'm like oh that'd be like a really like fun TikTok and I'm like no like I'm just describing like and I think you should leave sketch. I'm just describing like an SNL sketch. One of the ones that I was thinking of the other night was the uh so there's a guy and he's out to dinner on like a first date with um like like someone from like Raya, and this woman arrives, and she is she's Jen, and she is just like talking, and like a lot of like non sequiturs, and like she like takes a phone call in the middle of the day, and like a woman approaches in the middle of the day and like yells at the guy for like you're disgusting, I can't believe I'm seeing you here, and this whole like long thing where um you think you like know where it's going, where you think you're just like, oh, like and at the end, um, the guy finally is able to like cut her off and say like I'm sorry, like this isn't like this isn't the date. Uh, and she's all. And but like then there's like a double twist where it's like I'm meeting you tomorrow, like you got the day wrong, but like I'm meeting someone else to, you know what I mean, like it's like there's like the twist, and there's like the double twist at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I too am on the same bandwagon of like I would TikTok more if it wasn't as overwhelming to create one. Like it just seems so involved, and like I don't have the brain power to do that.
The one that I really want to do is because there are so many like cliches with the NFL, and one of the ones is they talk about like, oh, like when the Steelers and the Ravens play, like and just like throw away the record books because like anything could happen. So my thing is the person like sitting there like realizing like, oh, like the Steelers and the Ravens are playing tomorrow. And he picks up like the record book, like walks to the kitchen and just like throws it into the garbage can because he's throwing away the record books.
Yeah.
But I'll let you know, man.
Yeah. So those are your like favorite Sudeikis and Sandberg, or like who is your like all time favorite?
So yeah, I grew up with uh Will Ferrell and Fallon and Daryl Hammond, Sherry O'Terry, Anna Gasteyer, like that era. Like I was too young to like appreciate, like the Hartman and Farley and Spade and Sandler and Chris Rock, and I was too young for that. But I would say I'd say like starting in like that like 97, 98 era.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you be
But like
watching?
I really I listen to one of the podcasts I listen to is the Seth Meyers and Lonely Island podcast, where every week they talk about like the digital short, and they like go through, and Seth likes to say on the podcast, he calls that era and golden era, like not the golden era, but like and golden era of SNL. And I agree. I really I love like the comedy of that era.
Are you planning to watch Kyle Mooney's upcoming film Y2K?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Sure. Yeah. So I guess jumping off of that, so I don't know if you know this, but I also, while in college, did a little bit of stand up.
Fun.
It was fun. It was a good time. I've always really enjoyed like watching stand up, and so I've been fortunate that like I've been able to see a lot of really great ones live. I think one of my favorites is, so I saw, this was in like 2011. I saw Donald Glover, where it was the I Am Donald tour, and he did like 30 minutes to stand up, and then he left the stage, and 15 minutes later came back and did 45 minutes of Childish Gambino. It
That's
was
great.
yeah, it was
That
so
was
cool.
history.
It was really great. Um, uh, so I've been able to see like a lot of really great comics. I saw um, Aziz was
Ooh.
great in person. I saw John Mulaney a couple years ago, but it was on his Baby J tour. So like I really, um, like I love that Netflix special just because like
Yeah.
I saw that's the one I saw them do. And speaking of people who I loved at SNL, uh, I think my favorite stand-up show that I've been to was I got to see Nate Bargatze this year in January, and that man is very very funny. I know that's like a controversial take that like the most like the one of the most famous like comedians and has been like working forever and everyone loves him. It's really controversial to say he's really really funny, but that was a great hour. I can't wait for that to come out.
Who would you say your like favorite stand-ups? Is it like these four that you listed, or would like is it,
Yeah,
who else is on the
I
list?
definitely um one of the ones that I really like Gary Goldman a lot. I remembered him from Last Comic Standing. I He actually was in a show that I did when I was in college. So that was really cool. I didn't like meet him or anything, but because it was like but it was really cool. Um, yeah, I like Mulaney a lot. I like Nate Bargatze a lot. Um, I like. I feel bad that I'm not naming any women right now. But, no, I like Nikki Glazer a lot. I like uh yeah
Yeah,
I really enjoy um stand up.
yeah. It's a very fun medium to like both be in and then also consume. It's like a very personal medium also because it's like the most successful stand-ups like have to really know who they are and like what their point of view on the world is and what their experiences lead to that identity and to that viewpoint. Like I'm a big Nicole Byer fan also.
Oh yeah,
Like
I love Nicole Byer.
she's so funny. And like
I like Take a lot.
oh yeah. Her and Wanda Sykes. Like I love the lesbian comedians. Like
Yeah.
they're great. Like like I think like Ellen's stand up is really good, even though we don't talk about Ellen anymore.
Oh
Like
no. No.
yeah, but her stand up was like
Did you ever hear my theory um, that I may have said this to you or not, but that um, Jeff Schroeder is the Ellen of the Big
I
Brother.
think you have told me this before. Yeah, yeah. Al Schroeder is the Ellen of Big Brother. That's hilarious. No,
You
you're
know,
not.
you know.
Yeah, if you know, you know. And then do you have a Survivor version or no?
Um,
Or do you need to noodle on that one?
no, I don't think so. I
Yeah,
don't think there's like. I mean, I'm sure there is, but like no one
yeah.
off the top of my head, I feel like that like strong
Elizabeth.
of a comp to.
Yeah. So speaking of reality television, how
Yes.
did you get involved with all of this? Like obviously Survivor's in your top 10 shows that define you. But like were you like a day one Survivor fan? Were you a latecomer? Like how did
No, I was. I was. I was in high school when Borneo premiered. I guess it was the summer in between eighth grade and ninth grade. But no, I would say from episode like 3 or 4 in Borneo is when I would say it's 3 because I remember the gross food eating with Jervis and Stacey Stillman. Um, I will say that the one episode that I like protested and refused to watch because I was so angry about how this is so funny. I was so angry about like how they did someone dirty is that I would not watch episode 3 of the Australian Outback
Because of Kel.
because of the way that they treated Cal, and the person the person I was most mad at was Mad Dog. So I'm like, this is so like ridiculous now. I really
Have you
cared.
since seen that episode?
Yes, I
Okay,
yes.
that's so funny.
And so like once like, oh, I guess Mad Dog's not on the show anymore. I can watch again. But, no, from a very from Borneo, I have been watching Survivor. I've been a huge fan. I When I was a senior in high school um, was when All Stars was on, and that was the spring of my senior year. So it'd be spring of '04. And I remember one day coming back from school and putting as my AOL away message, um, something like currently reading about why my boy Rob C lost on Survivor. And so like I will remind David Bloomberg occasionally of like I was shouting you out, man, in 2004, like Reality News Online and all that stuff on there. I was into it.
Yeah.
Um, I think that um, I don't think I know that in there's like a paper in like my like file of like memorabilia that I was when I was a senior. Is one of the questions was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my answer was either be the next Dan Patrick or Dan Patrick, the sportscaster, not the lieutenant governor of Texas. Just wanted to throw that out there. So I'd be the next Dan Patrick or Rob Cesternino. Like
And
I was, from when I was young, man, was like I loved Survivor, and in 2010 when Heroes vs Villains was on TV. I was already like a podcast person. I was listening to like the Bill Simmons podcast and a couple others, and saw that, oh, like this guy has a podcast now. And I remembered like really liking him on his season. I remember liking him when he was at the Fishbowl. I remember really like in like I love this guy. Like I looked up to him. I was like, I'm gonna listen to this podcast. And so it's like kind of it's kind of wild sometimes when I think about it, Felipe, that like
yeah,
I have a tangential relationship with this person now. Um to the point where like if I really needed something, like he would help me. And it's just like it's just like a wild, like it's a strange. It's weird, man.
yeah.
It's like,
No,
it's wild.
I can relate because like I got into Survivor right when I was getting into high school, and quickly found our HAP because Amazon was the second season that I was able to find on YouTube, and then I just like got into it, and I remember I used to have like dreams of like, oh, wouldn't it be so cool if like I got to like ever talk to Rob and Nicole or whatever, and then like eventually like I did, and like Rob's been on my podcast now, and it's like so
Sure.
cool.
Yeah.
Like it's wild to think like what a life we lead in the Big Brother house. No, I'm kidding. um, it's wild. Like these things that are so meaningful to us like have actually progressed. Like, and I feel like we're in the era of like if you're a fan of something, there's a way that you can like enjoy it to the best possible experience. And obviously we experienced that with Survivor, but even like hearing other podcasts where it's like, oh, like I listened to the Glee Rewatch podcast with Kevin and Jenna, and like they interview fans of like the show now on their podcast, and it's like, oh, you get to like experience getting to know all these people. And I think it's so cool. Like that's like one of the benefits of social media, ironically. Like even though, like we said earlier, Twitter can be very depressing, it's like, but also in this era, like I wouldn't have these connections without social media. Like I wouldn't have ever met Rob without like the patron group, and then
Yeah.
like the comfort of like, oh, let me just go to this and going with friends that I had made online, and a young myself and Brandon Donlin being underage and not letting into the after party bar of the Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, and so we became friends. And then Rob and Nicole come up because they were coming up later, and then that's when I first met Rob. So it's just
Yeah.
like wild, and now like you said, like it's fun to have like an individualized relationship with this person who is very meaningful. Like I wouldn't have a podcast if it wasn't for
No,
seeing what Rob did.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mention Brandon Donlin, because um I'm still like kind of getting used to the fact that, so he was on he was on Survivor a couple years ago, not a couple seasons ago, a year ago, and in like the summer beforehand, like the lead up to it, I was talking with our mutual friend and former guest on this show, Nicole Horn. And so I was having a conversation with her, and I brought up like, oh yeah, like everyone's like really excited about like Brandon being on the show. Like, I don't know him. And she said, you don't know him? Like, yeah, I don't think so. Like, I don't think that. And she goes, oh, he definitely knows who you are.
Yeah.
And so it's like this sort of thing where it's like that's still like kind of weird to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I made a joke, which I think is, um, I made a joke after the finale of this past Survivor season, when we saw who's going to be on the next season, and I made a joke online where I said, like, I'm really looking forward to next season there being two different people who, if they heard my name, would say, yeah, I think I know who that is.
Yeah. It's wild. I have a photo from a Mafia game after one of these know-it-alls. It was the final four of the Mafia game included Amy Howard
Mm-hmm.
and Andy.
Mm-hmm.
And in the year of our Lord, 2024, Andy is now going to be on Survivor, and Amy is a Tony winner.
It's true.
It's like wild. It's like
it's very true.
yeah,
Very
and
true.
that was in the same Mafia game, and I was playing the most unhinged doctor game that I've ever played. And Andy and I was like, oh, I like this guy. He knows that I'm legit. I know he's on the town, and like now, like he's living out his dream, and
Sure.
it's
Just posting pictures of the U.S. Open like it was nothing,
yeah, it's wild, and also like the fact that like I brought Nicole into that friend group, that I and
Yeah.
myself and Brandon and all the other people that was in that friend group. So like I feel like that's so funny that then it led to that, because yeah, it was so wild. But
But you also know, changing directions, that I love competition reality shows. I mentioned, like, Survivor, mentioned
and
Top
Top
Chef.
Chef. Have you ever been to any of
Um,
the Top Chef restaurants?
Yes, I went to, when I was in Atlanta. I was there for um, fellow patron Matt Eichel's wedding, with Jordan and Amy. And Amy and I met our friend Jeff at one of like a brunch place that was owned by Kevin from season 6 and from All Stars. So that was really cool. But another thing that I know that we both share, Felipe, is our love of singing.
Yes.
competition shows.
The Voice, American Idol, The Glee Project.
Yes. So I was early to American Idol, where I definitely remember
Ruben or Clay?
I definitely remember seeing Kelly Clarkson win and rooting for her. Um, I didn't have strong feelings either way about Ruben or Clay. I think it may have been Clay by like a whisker,
Mm-hmm.
but I have some controversial ones for sure.
Were you a Taylor Hicks girly?
No, because
Nicole was, but we can.
I was an Elliot Yamin.
Were you a Sanjaya guy?
No, I was
No.
not. I say that again, like Sanjaya has given me 2 cameos. I am very thankful for Sanjaya for that. But no, I was not. I was not a Sanjaya guy. My big ones were, I was definitely Blake Lewis over Jordan Sparks because I like
That
the
one hurts.
beatboxing. The beatboxing was cool.
I'm just a big Jordan Sparks guy.
I am too. I am too. I appreciate Jordan Sparks, and she absolutely should
I
have.
still need to listen to her new single. She released a single recently. I was like, ooh, new music.
I was Team Cook over Archuleta.
Okay. Don't tell Brandon that.
And then here comes the bad one.
Chris Allen over.
I was enormously Chris Allen over Lambert. But I liked Chris Allen a lot, like early in the and hand up, like I'm on the wrong side of history there. Like I love Adam Lambert. I love his music. I love him as a person. He's not like I don't think he's canceled. I think he's still
He's fine.
doing wonderful things.
Don't know anything about Chris Allen, but I can tell you Adam Lambert's not canceled.
Yeah, that I was definitely one of those on the Chris Allen, and so I'm thinking. So I stayed with Idol while it was on Fox. I did not make the move to ABC.
Okay.
So I watched all the Fox seasons. So I was about to say that, like, oh, maybe I had a thing about the WGWG, what they call it, is the white guy with guitar. Where like where it was Cook and Allen back to back. But then I'm like thinking of other, like, I don't think it was Scotty McCreery. I think
Haley Reinhart. I feel like you're
more
a Haley Reinhart.
No, I think it was more Casey Abrams that season.
Okay. And then the next
and
season
I probably Lauren Elena over Scotty.
Yeah.
But no, season 10, I was big. I was big Joshua Ledet.
Okay.
I love Josh Ledet. And I like Jessica Sanchez a lot too. And I like nothing Philip Phillips. Again, like history, like Philip Phillips has been very successful, and hand up. Like I have.
He has like 2 or 3 songs.
I have songs from Philip Phillips on my phone, on my Spotify. I have Home and Gone on my Spotify.
Those are the only 2 songs I know by him since then.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot. I'm looking at Joshua Ledet, just reminding myself what he's saying, and I forgot about DeAndre Brackensick.
Oh yes, many people did forget about DeAndre Brackensick. But that was also like June was on that season, and I loved him. Colton, whatever his last name is, who was like a Christian rocker.
Dixon.
Yes, thank you. That was a good season, man.
That was probably the last like good season. I liked season 12 because I thought it was iconic that all the women.
Yes, the one that Candace won.
Yeah,
that was a great season. I was remember I was rooting for Angie Miller that season, but I also really liked Candace a lot.
Yeah. I feel like the last season I really followed was 11. I'd like dabbled in the final Fox season just because I knew it was the final one. I think I was rooting for LaPortia Renee. Is that her name?
Yes, no, that one was
Problematic
very good. But
fave.
I really like Trent Harmon.
Yeah. And then I did tangentially follow the first ABC season, like
Okay.
when I watched Disney Night, and then I was like kind of following from there. Like I was like, because like I'm a big Disney boy. Um, so I kind of like watched the YouTube clips. I didn't watch any of the show. I didn't vote, but I was like kind of following along.
Yeah, and then I would say that I did like the first like 7 or 8 voice seasons religiously, and then
Yeah, I feel like I
I'll
fell
pick
off
back
maybe
in
around
every now and
season
then
2.
on
The
the voice.
last one I watched was with Curly Sue.
Okay.
Allison Porter.
Yeah.
And then like sometimes I would dabble in the music. Like I love a good cover. I love a good cover.
Yeah.
Um,
There are people though that like that have like were on The Voice for like 2 episodes like 10 years ago.
and you
That
listen
like
to their songs.
I would like go online and like defend. So like,
Yeah. Oh, I am still in the trenches of the Rebecca Samarin. Like she deserves so much better. She was montaged 3 times,
oof.
and her version of "A Case of You" is one of the best versions of any song I've ever heard. Also, do you want to hear my American Idol hot take?
Please.
The best judge on that show was Cara Diaguardi.
Okay.
That's my hot take.
That's not bad. I actually really liked, and depending on when you stopped, you probably didn't see a whole lot of him. Was Keith Urban
As a judge?
Yeah,
I didn't watch a ton of that. Was like the J-Lo era, right?
yeah.
I didn't watch a ton of
it was Keith Urban, J-Lo, and Harry Connick Jr.
Okay.
The last 2 or 3 seasons.
When was Steven Tyler there?
Steven Tyler was there, I want to say 11 and 12.
Okay, I watched, and J-Lo was overlapping with
No,
him,
10 and 11. 10 and 11.
Okay, J-Lo overlapped with him a little bit, right?
Yes.
Okay, I did watch those, but I don't think I watched. And Keith Urban was there also, or was Randy still there?
Urban. No, it went. So it was Simon, Paula.
The last one I really watched was like Philip Phillips season.
Simon, Paula, Randy, all the way to
9,
season 7.
Oh yeah, Paula left at 7.
Sarah joined season 8, and then
Ellen joined
9. Ellen joined, and Paula left. And then 10 was all new. It was Randy, Steven Tyler, and J-Lo. And that was 10 and 11. And then 12 was
J-Lo, Keith Urban.
No, it was
Nicki Minaj and
Mariah Carey.
And Randy?
J-Lo and no, J-Lo wasn't on there then. It was Nicki, Mariah. That may have been when Keith Urban started. And Randy. And then to the last 3 seasons were J-Lo, Harry, and Keith Urban.
Okay.
Well, like, I don't know. Keith Urban just like he's a cool dude, he's Australian, married to Nicole Kidman. Like he was like he was very supportive. He would like sing along to everyone. So it's just like it was like they're having fun. When people see like Taylor Swift at award shows and the camera cuts to her and she's singing along and people on again going back to Twitter, people on Twitter are like, she's so cringe. I can't believe she's singing along. So like, shut up. Like that's what people do when they enjoy music and they like don't care. They just sing along.
You are wearing an Eras shirt, obviously not the Taylor version, but are you a Swiftie?
I like Taylor. I definitely do. I would not like. I'm not like a hardcore Swiftie. Like I saw the Eras movie in theaters and posed the question online in the middle of it of like, there's someone behind me singing along to everything. Is this okay? This is a movie theater. But yeah, I like Taylor.
Who's your favorite modern musician? Like, this has been a good year for the pop girlies. Are you?
Yeah, I texted you the joke about it, but I really love this Sabrina Carpenter album. There's no skips on it. It was like really, it's a really strong album, so I really like that. I Uh, I like Carly Rae Jepsen a lot. Even
Are you
her,
friends with
like,
Will Davis? I feel like you and him should be better friends if you aren't already.
yeah, I mean, like, we're not like each other's like emergency contact, but like,
Yeah. No, I feel like you and him have so many overlaps that I feel like you two should like definitely like
yeah. So the thing with music is, I think the joke like 10 years ago that like my friend told me once was like, when you get married, like the only thing you're gonna like tell the DJ is like just play like whatever the top 40 is. Because like I was like such like I was so like in and like I current and like I loved the Grammys because I loved all the performances and um so if you like called up like the Billboard top 10 of the Billboard like top 50 of like 2012, 2013, 2014, like I could sing you any of those songs. You know what I mean? Like I
yeah.
knew all of them. I'm so like my Spotify Wrapped Felipe is like cast album of this, cast album of that,
Yeah.
cast album of that. Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, Coldplay, cast album of this. It's just like I'm so like I you know I've gotten older, man. Like I'm so like I'm just my music tastes have just not transferred.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
tough.
speaking of cast albums, as a musical theater boy,
Yes.
as a fan of musical television,
Yes.
you know where this is going. Were you a
Wait,
Glee?
was I a Gleek?
Yes.
I don't believe I've seen the last season.
Okay, that's fine. You can skip it.
But no, I was in it, man. I liked Glee a lot. Um, I remember in 2009 when it first came out that uh, seeing like a YouTube of Ryan Seacrest on his radio show talking about like if he were to watch Glee, he'd have to shut the blinds because he'd be like so embarrassed that like anyone would see him watching Glee and like just be so embarrassed by like the thought of him watching Glee. And then like a week later, like at the end of American Idol, you know, be like, "All right, stick around for Glee. It's coming up next." And I'm like, "You fraud!"
Yeah. Like I got into Glee like early season 2 and went back and
Okay.
binge watched all of season 1, and then the first 3 seasons watched religiously, fell off, and then I went back before college and binge watched everything that all the whole series from start to finish.
I will say I will it's like it's really like it's coming together where my favorite Glee song, and I've like texted this to like to Matt and Amon before, but my favorite Glee song is uh Marry the Night
with Adam Lambert.
with Adam Lambert. Yes.
Yeah. That's so funny because you were a Chris Allen guy.
I know. No, that's
Yeah.
right.
Although Adam Lambert's Mad World like lives rent free in my mind. That
Yeah.
like, and although so back when I was like really into like American like
but
middle school theater.
I mean, so does Chris Allen's Heartless.
Yeah. Well, so I was gonna say, so I did this summer camp that was like basically you record your own like mixtape is basically like the theme. Like you just record it. She like records it on GarageBand, and then like at the end she like makes you a little CD. And one of the songs that was on it was "Live While We're Young." Or no, that's not it. You only got 26,400 seconds in a day.
Live Like You're Dying.
Live Like We're Dying. Yeah, that one. And
No,
that's
is that the
underrated
Tim McGraw
banger.
song?
What?
That's the Tim McGraw song.
I thought that was a Chris. Oh, live like we're dying. That's Chris Allen. Live while we're young is Tim McGraw, right?
No. Tim McGraw, my friends. I hope one day you get the chance to live like you were dying. Live like was
No. I did the Chris Allen song.
Dave?
Chris Allen had to live like we're dying, right?
I think it might be the same song, Dave. Okay, interesting.
We've only got 86,400 seconds in a
No,
day.
I know exactly what the
Did he do a cover of it? Oh my god!
No. They're completely different songs.
Oh, you scared me. You stressed me. I was like, oh my god, am I misremembering who sang this banger.
Okay, ready? The Tim McGraw song is "Live Like You Were Dying,"
Oh,
and the Chris Allen song is "Live Like We're Dying."
okay. MJC is trying to cause chaos, cause confusion.
You
Who
knew
is
I
it,
was going to
Tucker?
sing at one point. I
Yeah.
didn't realize it was going to be Tim McGraw.
Yeah. No, I did not know Tim McGraw like musically until probably like a year ago.
Do you want to touch on movies?
Yeah. What movies shaped the MJC?
Yeah. So
I'm
a
assuming a lot of
lot.
comedy.
Yeah, definitely like a lot of comedy. Some Jim Carrey. Your Liar Liar, the Mask. Where I was more of like a Liar Liar, the Mask, Dumb and Dumber guy than an Ace Ventura guy. Like to this day, like I don't know that I've sat through Ace Ventura. I think the one of like the really like I really, and this was without even like seeing the movie, but like I was a big supporter of what Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were able to do with Good Will Hunting. So I was like really cool that like, oh, like these young guys like wrote and like starred in this movie together, and they won an Oscar for writing, and it's like really, really cool. So yeah, a lot of definitely like a lot of comedies. You like that, you think of like all of like the really great ones in like the 2000s. Like I remember seeing a lot of them in theaters. I'm also like I mentioned this in my therapy session recently, that there are a lot of people who feel like there's just like this stigma and this weirdness about going to the movies by yourself.
I know, and it's bonkers because I love going to the movies by myself. Do you have AMC
It's
A-list?
not a social experience. Like
Right.
it's like you're not like, and I will say that easily 95% of the movies that I've ever gone to, I have been at by myself. Easily.
Exactly.
I don't have an AMC pass because I don't have an AMC close by.
Valid. That's the one. But I feel like everyone that has an AMC nearby that has it, they're like, this is the best deal, like in deals history. Like why? Yeah. So I
Or
love
like
going to movies by myself.
another subgenre that I really enjoy, and I think that you aren't going to be surprised to hear this. I think that people who know me are going to be surprised to hear this, and listeners to the great Shit 90 shows taught me aren't going to be surprised to hear this. Is that I love a good rom-com, man.
Yes.
I love a good rom-com.
Same.
So like one of like the ones that I have seen many times, like lives rent-free in my head, is Win a Date with Tad Hamilton. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing it correctly. It's Win a Date with Tad Hamilton. There's an exclamation point at the end. So that one's good. I like whenever there's like a new like rom-com that comes out, I'm like, all right, I'm in. Like,
I'm a very big fan of J-Lo's "Marry Me," which I know you've seen.
That's true.
That's
true. I podcasted about with with Grace and Ariel.
Yes, and I love that movie. Are you excited for the upcoming Kristen Bell, Adam Brody rom-com that's going to hit Netflix? Like, yeah. I love a good rom-com. Like, it's an underrated genre.
I think one of the ones I really like that, like I like a lot of like the Netflix ones. So like Set It Up, I really liked. I liked the one, I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's Adam Devine, and he's got the When We First Met is what it was called.
Oh yeah.
He's got the photo machine that goes back in time.
I I definitely, if you haven't seen it, Wedding Season, I really liked.
Mhm.
And there's also this is a Hulu one, but Fire Island.
Okay.
Uh, that's that's Joel Kim Booster. It's
Yeah,
a gay
yeah,
rom
yeah,
com.
yeah. No, definitely.
I love that one.
I
Yeah.
liked Palm Springs.
Oh, love Palm Springs.
That's a
Went
good
for my
one.
first time a couple of weeks ago.
Yep, yep.
Um,
With Kristen Milioti.
and Andy Samberg.
Yep.
Yeah,
Kristen Milioti, like I always,
underrated.
it's always great, and I always she just reminds me of the end of How I Met Your
I Met
Mother.
Your Mother. Yeah. Um, she was not the problem with that.
No, no,
Yes.
no. The rating of the final season was a problem. Like,
Mhm.
it was not. It's not on her shoulders. Um, she was great. She was great in the season of Fargo that she was in.
I
Oh
also want
no,
to see the show that she did with Chidi from The Good Place.
yes, that was a Peacock. I
Yes.
can't think of the name of it right now. I think it was like the resort or like the
Yeah,
island or
I
something.
definitely wanted to see that. I think Robbie Freeman was very high on it.
Yep.
Um,
But yeah, a lot of my like comedy comes from uh like Jack Black movies. A
mhm.
lot of a
School
lot
of
of
Rock.
people like don't love like Will Ferrell. Well, a lot of people love Will Ferrell, but like a lot of people are like, oh, and he's like too crazy. Like I don't care for that. Like no, like, bring on the crazy. Um, I have a lot of respect for the career that Seth Rogen has.
Yeah.
I think Seth Rogen is like so hysterical and so like wonderful in his comedies, but um, I think that he also has in a lot of his movies, he has um, like a very like sincere side to him, and like I in he made me cry in 50-50. He made me cry in um, I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's the one where he's in with Charlize Theron,
Long
where
shot.
he's the long shot. Yep. Um, I like I'm an easy cry at like
Yeah.
movies and TV shows for sure.
Oh, like I have cried during episodes of Big Brother. Usually
Yeah,
family visit stuff, but like and
right.
Survivor. But
It would so for Survivor it would be
when Jesse
the
lost,
love
I cried.
oh no the loved ones visits
Yeah.
would usually get me. Um, no, but like for a lot of shows it would be um, the episode where uh, like a cast member leaves.
Hmm.
So the one I'm thinking of right now is the episode of Community where Troy leaves.
Yeah.
Like every time will like get me like emotional. The episode of The Office that's Michael's Last Sundays where they're like singing the Rent song to him will
Hmm.
always kind of like get me a little, a little bit.
When
Uh,
Ricky gets trained and
so
Glee.
which by the way, and I know that this isn't like what this podcast is, but like you know, um, anyone who is like being critical and like hateful online to Gus Walls for like I don't care if he's neuro.
Doesn't
I should
matter.
I
Let
should say
men
that.
have emotions.
It shouldn't matter if he is neurodivergent, which he is.
Yeah.
That should not matter. But like, are we really going to like that's toxic masculinity at its like peak
Yeah.
right there?
Let
Is
men have
people
emotions
mocking the
and
fact
let people be proud
that
of their
like
dad.
a 17-year-old man is not going to like be emotional watching his father who he adores like shut up just shut up like
Ah,
like that's like exhibit Q
mhm.
about like why I'm so like done with X.
Have you? I will say the Tim Waltz's Bert Hummel memes. I'm a fave.
Yeah,
Like because he's like football coach,
yeah,
president of the LGBT
right.
Q plus allyship club. whatever it's called these days. Because back in my day, it was the Gay Straight Alliance, and I don't think that's what they're called in high school these days. But yeah, we love Tim Waltz in this house. Any other pieces of media that you're like, oh, this is essential MJC that we have not hit on, like anything that we have yet to touch upon that is crucial to the lore?
Let me think. I'm just gonna scroll through my like podcast apps. Is there anything on there that like I haven't mentioned? Because I think that people ignore.
I mean, I feel like you're very much like me. You're like an overall pop culture connoisseur.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like.
Do you ever think about? I did this like thought experiment a couple times. Where do you ever think about if you were to, it's like tomorrow, you suddenly worked at Barstool Sports?
I don't think about that.
Okay. So in this like strange world where you like, but you're still yourself, but you work at Barstool tomorrow. I don't think I would last like 3 days before being like, I can't be here. I can't, like, this is so toxic. Like, this is like,
yeah, that's why I don't think about it.
I despise this man so much.
I would not belong, so I feel like I don't even think about it. But like, I have thought about it like in not as toxic places, but like I've thought about like in these like sort of communities. Like I'm like, oh, what if I worked at the Ringer, and then I wonder how long I would last there, because like I feel like I can't.
You know, I don't think that like I think I have like the skin to like be able to like work for someone who like is, I don't know, so boldly like not a good person.
I feel like I mean,
I'm sure there are good people who work there, but
yeah,
I just like, that's the sort of thing.
Especially if you go in knowing it. Like, it's one thing if you show up and you realize what you're working for and then you like stick it out. But for another, like, if you go in knowing what Barstool's reputation is, and like, or going to work for like, I could never like see myself ever like selling out my morals to go work for Joe Rogan or stuff like that.
And I'm not sitting here saying like all Barstool is bad. Like there are things that they put out that I don't think is bad, but like it has to. But there's like so much work that you have to do where you have to like suspend your knowledge of, it's like, what like a bad guy Portnoy is, you know? I don't know. I don't know why I'm getting that there, but it's something that, like, you know, talking about media that I just thought of that.
I mean, that is something that like I've questioned a lot as I've spent some time in LA and like thought about what I want my life to be, is like how important is like my mental health versus my like desire to be a part of an industry that right now is in shambles because of corporate greed. And like, I know that's not necessarily what you were going for, but it's important to like discuss like media, because media is shaped by capitalism these days, and media is like an import to other countries for sure. So it is definitely something that, like, thinking about it more and more, is something that I've individually wrestled with. So I think it's an important question to bring up, especially like humanity. Excuse me. I feel like humanity is something that like is very interesting to me. That's, I think, the biggest reason why I'm obsessed with like these reality shows like Survivor and Big Brother, is like seeing humans interact and just like what people are capable of in both the best ways and sometimes the worst ways. And I don't know, that's something that I've definitely considered. Like where's my line?
Right.
Because obviously there are lines that like we both are like, this is way past the line, and we've seen horrible examples in some of our favorite shows of like these lines being crossed.
Mhm.
And we would never even approach that line. But it's like, where's everyone's individual line? Is interesting as a question. Yeah.
Well, who's before we wrap, and I know we have to wrap soon. So, of course, Asia is going to be on this next season of Survivor. So, who's someone in the community that you would love to see on? I won't say 48. I'll say 49.
Myself.
48 is like, okay, cool. Good answer.
Besides myself, is that what you're asking?
Yes, besides yourself.
Well, I mean, I don't know what she's doing. I don't think it's 49 right now, but I think there is someone who is on an upcoming reality show that is in the community, who's taking a break from podcasting, of the Bravo podcast that she does. I feel like she's been absent, and I feel like my
your
antenna's up. No, I mean, I think you could put Nicole or Caitlin, my girlies, on any reality show, and they make it better. So, like, selfishly, I'd love to see them. Like, any of my friends, like, I'm gonna like go all out for my friends because I love seeing my friends achieve their dreams and like living their best lives. Trying to think, like, I mean, I think Chappelle, I would love to see. I know he doesn't want to, but I think Chappelle is content gold.
Right.
I don't think Rob wants to do 50, but if he's on 50, I'm not going to be mad at it. Like,
no.
Like, I like, honestly, like, Mike Blooms and Shannon doesn't want to do it. Like, it's like a lot of the people that I know, like, who I am most passionate about, like, they don't, I think, want to. So, this is a hard question for me to answer. Like,
I mean, the answer is Jacob Jones.
Yeah, I forgot. Oh, AJ Norris, another one.
AJ, yep.
Yeah, those two silly boys.
We gotta get Bryce back on something.
Yes, I honestly put Jacob Jones on Top Model.
Right.
I feel like he'd play so messy. He'd treat it like Survivor. But like he's also a very attractive gentleman who has done modeling. And I feel like that's like I could see it. I see the vision. But like put him. I want him on like a messier reality show, like where like I would love to see him on The Traitors, even though they're only casting like reality stars these days. But like I feel like I need Big Brother, The Mole, something like that. Like I need mess. I feel like I need him to be like in a messy environment. Like I feel like he's perfect for the challenge.
Right.
Yeah. Would you ever want to do any of these? Or would you rather do like a singing or a Top Chef or like a talent show?
I don't think so.
No.
I just, I know myself, and I feel like I would be not very exciting on these shows.
Valid. Yeah.
I don't think I'd be. I don't think I'm the type of person that these shows are really looking for.
Valid. For me, like it's Survivor, or if they ever do a Brazilian version of Claim to Fame. Those are the two that I would want to do. Or Traitors, but Traitors is only casting like I like. There's some people in the community that are like put me on any show. I'm very much like these are the ones that I think I'd do The Amazing Race, but it would have to be with the right person. But my thing with The Amazing Race is like I would want to actually see the world, and from what I understand with Amazing Race, it's very like constrained. Like a lot of the time is in like the hotel room, and like I remember who was that football player that was like when he got eliminated, he was like, "Oh, I don't need this. My life is fine."
Was it Gary Barnidge?
Yeah, or D'Angelo and Gary.
D'Angelo and Gary. Yeah.
And I remember listening, and they were like to one of their exit interviews, and they were like, "Yeah, you just like stay cooped up in a hotel room. I want to go walk around Paris." And they were like, "No, you can't. You have to like stay cooped up." And I was like, "That's like that sounded detracting." Like I would love the concept of The Amazing Race, especially if it was like old school Amazing Race where you actually get to see more stuff. Not that they don't get to see anything, but it's like I would rather like travel the world, go get a pilot's license, and do that, and then yeah. But MJC, where do you want the people to keep up with you? Tell them anything that you want to promote, and also something that everyone and their loved ones should be checking out that isn't related to you, but is just like a pop culture plug that
Cool.
you want people think everyone should be on top of?
Yeah, great. So yeah, you can follow me uh, on X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm at MJCSZN. After I
Great name.
completely like dumped on the platform, like I'm still there. I'm still using it every now and then. Um, if you want to find me on Instagram, I'm there. Again, I tend to um, keep that to more uh, of my IRL friends, but if you feel that we might be IRL friends, you can find me there as well. Um, Same handle, MJCSDN. I don't have anything like podcast wise to plug. Um, I'm always willing and available. Anyone who's listening who says that they want to hear from me. Um, and then one pop culture thing that so this is a show that uh, came out a couple years ago. It was on AMC, but Netflix just added it, and I binged the 2 seasons of Kevin Can Fuck Himself.
Yeah.
uh, a really cool show, and I really liked it. Annie Murphy from Schitt's Creek is the star, and it's shot in two different ways, where it's like shot
Like a multicam
like a
thing.
multicam, and then it's shot like those AMC shows. Um, it's a really cool show, and it's like 16 episodes. You should check it out. Also, you should check out the Sabrina Carpenter album that just dropped last week.
Short and
That's really good.
sweet.
Yes.
Yes. In terms of me, you can follow me at all social media at the Brazil Dragon pod or at Brazilian Dragon. I need to streamline all those handles into one consistent thing, but go check us out on YouTube. Like and subscribe on all podcast platforms. 5 stars on Apple Podcasts if you're nasty. And if you are looking to help support the Brazilian Dragon vision, we recently started Patreon, so patreon.com/Brazilian Dragon Productions if you are so inclined. But at the end of the day, just a like and subscribe does wonders, and a rating and review on Apple Podcasts as well. In terms of me, you can follow me at What the Fleep. And we're working towards a big October here on the Brazilian Dragon with Brazilian Dragon Tober. So keep your eyes on the feed with some exciting projects, including lots of Scooby-Doo and some other miscellaneous stuff, including a Muppets Haunted Mansion recap. But that's all going to be in October, so we got a little bit of time till that hits. Until next time, everyone, thank you, MJC, for joining me and teaching me about the media that made you. Obrigadero for listening. Goodbye.